Hi guys, welcome back. Ryan here again for the London Craftsman. Thanks for watching. And today's video is all about spraying a water-based lacquer on top of oak veneer, such as these. I'm going to show you the machine I use, all the procedures I go through to get a lacquered finish on any type of material. So stay tuned, watch to the end, and hope you enjoy. Right, so what I'm doing at the moment is spraying a bathroom unit. It's got to be a relatively high-end finish. I'm going to be using a Graco cordless Airless sprayer. It's an Ultra Max, the one that sprays out the oil-based paints as well, cordless version. But ultimately, this oak veneer that I have here, I've got a few parts, which is going to turn into a vanity unit. I've got to give it a sort of a lacquered finish. The customer saw the finish of the Osmo and liked the colour, but thought it was a little bit flat. So what we're going to do is just add a little bit of shine, 10% sheen in total. And so let's run through a few bits what I do to achieve that. This is the Graco Ultra Max. I've just wrapped it up just because this is mucky stuff. Didn't want to get it all over the gaff. It's an Ultra Max. Perfect little machine to do the job. You can see the box behind me, Ultra Max. You get a cordless version. You get a version that has batteries but only sprays water-based paints or lacquers, and one that does the whole lot, so solvent-based and water-based. I've got the top of the range model, which is, I believe, £640 from Spray Direct, the cheapest place I can find it. It's already been set up with what I'm using at the moment. I'm using Morrells. I use them quite a lot. You can see a few products up here. A few more different types of lacquers. At the moment, I'm just using, well, you can see the code there if you want to sort of use the same product yourself. I've had it a year or so. It goes a long way, basically. This is a 5-litre tub. I'm only aiming really to spray about 1 litre to do this whole unit. Let me show you what I'm spraying. Bit of a crude drawing at the moment, but it's a vanity unit. 3 mirrored doors, a little cubby at the bottom. This is the interior. Well, nothing else really to show you on that side. It's just our little scribbles, how we built it. But basically, because it's an oak veneer, it only came in this colour. Obviously, oak veneer is an oak colour. So what we've done is we've oiled it with an Osmo. You can see all of Osmo do all different types of oils. It's a wood wax finish. And this particular colour, if you're interested, is 3168 Oak Antique, if you like the colours. We tried a little bit on the solid. This is a solid slab of oak. As you can see, solid all the way through. This had 2 coats. We just applied this with a brush, this one. Let's see if we can get this in the lights. Can you see the sheen? Yep. So this has had 2 coats. One just with a brush. Waited 15 minutes, rubbed it down with P240, dusted it off, and 1 more coat. And this is on the veneer. Again, we've done 2 types. Don't know if you can see, that half was lacquered. This wasn't. This was just Osmo on its own. And this is the 2 coats of lacquer. So that's the sheen that we're trying to achieve. Just brings out the grain a little bit. It gives it a little bit more depth. So we had to test it just to make sure it was the right product, it was going to work well, and it was going to sit on top of the Osmo oil, which it has nicely. And the reason we did it on solid and the reason we did it on veneer both is because our unit is made out of both. All the external parts are solid oak, and all the interior parts and the doors are veneer. And let me run you through a few components. I've already sprayed a few bits. Everything here you can see is part of the framework. You can see here, this one is a solid piece. We've used our domino machine to machine this, and this has had 1 coat. All of these are different parts, so this piece is a veneer piece. Yeah, you can see the oak, the MDF at the back. But they're all the interior, and as I'm talking about the components, these are the doors, 1, 2, and 1 up there. Backing is over here. And we've used 18mm just so when we get our fixings, we get nice decent fixings into the actual wall we can fix through the backing itself. The doors themselves, they are 18mm oak veneer, but because we have a mirror on one side, we didn't bother to lacquer the whole thing. Also, I didn't want to lacquer something and waste it and waste our time. And I was just going to glue the mirror directly onto this, and this is why I haven't oiled it or wasn't going to lacquer. But I'm thinking that we really have to balance the door. So we basically need to give the door equal coats of whatever we're using. Possibly not the Osmo, because that's not really going to affect anything, because it's just an oil. But a lacquer or paint, you really need to do one coat, one coat, one coat, one coat. As we're lacquering this side, I'm going to lacquer this side, which ultimately really is going to give us a nice solid finish to put our mirror adhesive onto. So that'll stick nicely to the lacquer. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm starting by spraying the back face of these doors, and then just alternate. And in between coats, I'm going to rub down with P240. Going back to this, because I went a little bit off track. This has had one coat. So the first coat is going to be sort of like a sealer. Can you see the sheen? Very slight. This side hasn't had any. So this still needs its first coat. You can see it's had a little bit. You see, Sean? Yeah. Okay. Great. So that's what we're trying to achieve. We're going to do one coat on everything first, bring it back into the workshop, rub it down with P240, back in here, and just keep going until we've done maybe 3 to 4 coats. See what 3 looks like, possibly a 4th. So I'm going to give you a little demo on this machine. It's already been primed. To prime it, there's probably videos out there of how to use these, but you literally put it in prime mode down, you squeeze the cup until the air comes out and you see the lacquer coming through, close the cap, give a little burst on the prime mode, and then turn it to gun. I've got mine set at around number 6, which is just over halfway. Just find that that's giving me a nice spray. Let's see if we can just give it a little burst. You can see the spray in the light. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go around the edges. I should have my extractors on, but to be honest, shall we go and turn the extractors on? Yes, we should. Extractors. Otherwise, we're just going to get overspray all over our new sprayers over there. Just a little mist coat. It sort of looks white, but it's going to dry. If we come back to that in 10 minutes, it'll be completely dry. We'll be able to give that a rub down and then bring it back in. You can see what I've done with my rack. Ultimately, I've got a turntable under there, a bit of scrap to protect the turntable, and then packers to lift my work up off the MDF protector. So these have already been dusted, but I'm just going to make sure there's no obvious debris just sitting on them. And this is only the second time I've used this machine. A few dry spots. It's a bit harder to control the cordless version compared to, say, one of these versions. You've got a little bit more control of those, but we're still going to get a brilliant finish, especially when you compare it up against rollering, brushing. Right, so I'm at the point where I've done 2 coats of lacquer on any face that needed it. For example, the doors, they needed both faces. The backing only needed one face. So 2 coats all over, and in between coats, I brought it back into the workshop and denibbed it with P240 very, very slightly. I didn't go mad, just with a bit of hand paper. So they've been dedusted, brought back in, and I'm at the point where I'm just spraying a third coat. I'm going to show you what it looked like, because there is one piece which I did leave. Let's spin the camera around. There is one piece that I haven't sanded after the second coat, just to show you the sheen of what we are achieving with 2 coats, which is pretty awesome really. Waterbourne lacquer. I'm quite impressed with this lacquer. I use it quite often, and yeah, the Osmo itself is quite hard wearing. You know, you don't even necessarily need to put a lacquer over the top. They say it's water resistant. But yeah, if you wanted to, you could get away with 2 coats. But I just want to go the extra mile, just build up that sheen ever so slightly and give it a tiny bit more depth. Obviously, the lacquer doesn't fill the grain in. If you kept on going, it probably would, and give you the glass finish, you know, completely flat. But yeah, that's 2 coats. Really chuffed with that. I have popped out and bought another tub because I ran out. There we go. We got it ready there. And this one here has had its 3rd coat. So this backing, this 18mm backing is drying. It looks a little bit cloudy just because that's what lacquer does. This lacquer is cloudy in colour until it dries. And when that dries, I'll show you what it looks like, because ultimately that is finished. In between coats, or any time I'm leaving it to dry, maybe half an hour, an hour, I take the tub of lacquer out. I release the pressure, get another pot, because I've got 3 or 4 different pots with water, and just flush some water through it. I made that mistake back in the day with the old cordlesses, you know, the True Coat Pros. I left lacquer in it overnight, and when I came back, the pump didn't work anymore, and to this day, I haven't got it to work again. So let that be a lesson to you. Do not leave lacquer or paint in these if you can help it, for the sake of just releasing the pressure and just putting another tub of water in, flushing some through. 10 seconds work. Just do it. You don't want to replace a pump if it just gets seized up, even though they are pretty durable. Right, so while that's drying, I'll give you a few advantages of these little cordless guns. Firstly, the one I've got is battery powered, and you can run a good few litres through these. I'm guessing you can probably run 5 or 6 of these little tubs, 5 litres at least, on a battery charge. You do get 2 in the set that you buy, so that's great. Once one runs out, you can just flip them over, the other one's charging, just keep on going. Secondly, you can use the same tips as the proper machines, you know, the big boys. They use the green fine finish tips like the ones I need to use. At the moment, I've got a 410 in there. I wouldn't use anything than a fine finish, which atomizes the paint, the lacquer, whatever you're using, so much more than a blue tip. They're great for taking out on site. Another use for these is little one-off jobs. The reason I didn't set up this whole machine, this one under here or any of these, is because I would have had to fill all my hoses up with lacquer. I would have used maybe 200, 300, 400 mil, depending on how long your hose is, plus the big pump worth of material before it actually gets to the tip. Plus cleaning out takes a little bit longer. So if you've got a little job like this, you can see here, mine is very small. It's 8 pieces, maybe not, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 15 pieces worth. Then this is absolutely perfect. I did do some outdoor fencing as well. This would have been perfect for that job as well. So just for the sake of it being so handy, it does exactly the same, it gives you exactly the same finish as a 390 or something along those lines, a medium-sized machine like that. Can't really go wrong. £650, no-brainer for me really. I liked it for the fact that I can put lacquer through it, because every night I don't do it too often, but when I do, I don't want to have to buy sort of massive tubs of it and yeah, clean out the sprayer after it and waste some. So yeah, great little machine for those sort of purposes. I'm going to show you the final result of all 3 coats on. I'm really happy with the way it's turned out. If you come and follow me, I'll show you. So my favourite grain is oak, because it's nice and, you know, it's got a lot of character. And especially when you highlight it with oil and with lacquers especially. So when you put oil in, it brings out the lines. But then when you put a varnish on the top, then it brings out the depth of the lines and it makes it a bit more 3D. So let's have a little look. So this is 3 coats on a piece of solid. You see the light? You just have a look. You just try and aim it up to get the sheen. Yeah? Okay, let's flick it over. Again, different grains take it differently. And I'm actually quite chuffed that I've managed to match the colours of the solid oak with the veneer. So that was the hard part. That's what I was worried about at the beginning of making this unit. Can you have a look down the backing? This is a piece of 18mm veneer backing. Yep. It's a bit harder actually to see the grain. Okay, and then let's go and show you a door. So hopefully this one you can see a little bit better. How's that? Is that nice?
Yeah.
So 3 coats on the back of the door. Remember, the front doesn't get seen. That's had 3 mist coats. I wasn't really worried about that because the mirror is going to stick to the front of that. But there we go, 3 coats on there. So I'm really chuffed with the finish. You picking that up, Sean? Yeah. And finally, let's show you some smaller pieces. Again, depending on the grain, you know, when you buy veneer, sometimes you get a balanced side. One side's generally better than the other. So this would be the nicer grain. This would be the balanced grain or the least seen face. So they would look differently in the lights, I'm guessing. Yeah, looks quite nice, doesn't it? Yeah. And these are veneer, remember? So that's all the lacquers done. Really chuffed. If I get time at the end of the video, you'll see the finished piece all put together. If I've had time in the week to put it together and end the video with that, it will be at the end. If not, unfortunately, I wouldn't have had time. But before I go on this section of the video, let me just show you how I store my sprayer. So I've just got pump armor and it came with the kit. I think it did. Yeah, I'm sure it did. And all I do is I clean the gun out first with water, make sure it squirts out clean before I put the pump armor in. I generally just fill the whole litre up because this is an entire litre. I then open up the tab. I squeeze this until you see liquid coming out, close it up, and then I just have it pointing down, which means prime, so to get the air out of the system. And what that's doing is just putting a bit of pump armor inside the pump, and that's the way I leave it. And before I put this in, obviously I've cleaned the gun, I've taken the tip off, made sure the tip's all clean. I can just take the tip out and use it for my Airless sprayer over there. But what I generally do is just keep a tip with each gun. So over there I keep a 310, which I'm always painting with that Pro gun, and generally white paint. This I'm going to keep with this gun at least. I'm going to just make a note that I just use the varnishes. It doesn't matter as long as you clean them out properly. I just like to have things in the right places. So as you see, in the meantime, I've got all this white going on. Because I've got my fans going, I'm able to spray white whilst all this was drying in the rack with no overspray whatsoever. So yeah, that is now completely cured. It's or dry at least. Overnight it'll cure all this veneer, and then it'll be ready to assemble. Well, that was a close call. Managed to get the unit made just before the deadline of getting this video out. so you could see the finished product in its full glory. There you go, barring putting the doors on, it's ready to be hung on site. So this is the waterbourne lacquer. Remember, really easy to apply with the Airless sprayer. You can't really go wrong, to be honest. If you put it on too heavy or too light, it just finds its own level. I did apply the second coat quite heavy, and I saw lots of air bubbles and pooling. But within 20-30 minutes, it was dry, it was flat, and it's a really, really nice high-end professional finish. I'm spraying over dark veneer. If you're, for example, spraying over, I don't know, for example, a paint, something light, or a lighter veneer, you may see slight imperfections. But, you know, I am being helped out by the colour of the actual unit. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found it useful. If you've got any questions, fire them at me, like and subscribe and all the usual stuff to help support my channel if you can. Remember, I'm on Instagram as well. My wife's reminded me to say that in the video because I get tons of questions on Instagram, so I want to sort of connect them up. Make sure you know about the Instagram because most of our, you know, weekly photos and all that sort of stuff goes on Insta. So if you want to follow us, please do. Other than that, I hope you've enjoyed a bit of knowledge on the sprayer and how I finish oak veneer. Remember, the lacquer can go on any material. It can go on solid, it can go on different veneers, it can even go on MDF. It's just to give you that extra tough finish on top of the Osmo. Even though the Osmo didn't really need it, just brings the wood to life. So thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao for now.